I can get some of my younger associates in the building. I can find one. Oh, what's up, YouTube? I'm hoping I can find one that hasn't seen it and get them to watch it so I can get somebody who doesn't know the swerve at the end and get their live reaction.
Yeah. Like, I literally was like, hey, Sally, I'm going to have to watch Sixth Sense. Have you seen Sixth Sense? I expected her to say yes, but she's like, no, I haven't seen it. And my eyes lit up. And I'm like, can we watch it right now? She's like, well, I already know everything about it. And I'm like, what a disappointment. But no, I think we're gonna watch it anyway because she hasn't seen it. So I think even then it'll still be. I think
she'll still pop from it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Hey,
yeah, Amanda's only seen it once, I think, and it was a long time ago. So it'll be good.
Yeah. Hey guys, we're here. Well,
who's this ugly motherfucker not named David over here?
Adrian.
Adrian Aftershock coming back. It's me again.
Yeah. Hey, so for those that don't know, you already know something about Adrian, whether you know it or not. He recorded and wrote our intro for this podcast, which we've used now for about, I don't know, it feels like we've been using it for pretty much forever at this point.
Like 100 plus intros.
Yeah, 100 plus episodes. So, yeah, there he is. He's gonna jump on board with us. We got Jason Tsunami is taking a back seat for this one. We're gonna be doing a little bit something different. Josh, you want to give him a little bit of rundown on kind of what the plan is?
Yeah, so as you can probably see if you're watching the YouTube video right now, we're calling this a Metalhead's Journey. And essentially what we're going to focus on here first is the Big Four, and more particularly Megadeth. And even more particularly, the first 5 albums in Megadeth's catalog. Megadeth has 15 albums, so we're going to break these up into three parts here. So we're going to focus on the first 5 albums of Megadeth today.
Yeah, so
we're going to break down the albums. We're going to rate them on the proprietary shitometer.
Jason, I'm sorry, Adrian. Jason says, "Is that Gandalf the Black?"
I'll take it. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So, well, we won't get into too much detail since we'll have to explain it again when we actually start recording the podcast. But yeah, I mean, basically that's kind of what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing these once every 5 weeks, barring scheduling conflicts or whatever. So kind of expect something a little different every 5 weeks. We want to make sure we take time to digest these albums because, believe it or not, we'll get into it in a little bit. But
I listened to a lot of this.
Most of this I heard for the first time. So,
yep.
So we'll get into it a little bit. But yeah, I mean, no sense in giving away too much before we start the pod. So I don't know if Josh, if you're ready to get that going.
Yep. Let me put in a little throat lozenge.
Oh, you need something for your throat?
All right. Yeah. The love sausage beat me up earlier.
Well, all right.
All right.
Adrian, say something.
All right.
I just want to make sure I can actually hear you. That's good.
All right, here we go. Hello, and welcome to Three Guys and a Mic presents a Metalhead. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, we should before you start that, Adrian. You already know what's coming, right? You know what you're gonna say.
Yeah.
When you introduce yourself.
Yes, I do.
All right, I think I'm gonna turn you up a little bit on my end.
Okay, that's cool.
Unless you wanted to just put the microphone in your mouth. Otherwise, I'll just turn you up.
Go ahead and crank me up.
All right.
So am I gonna say a Metalhead's Journey through the Big Four, or Metalhead's Journey, the Big Four?
Featuring
Megadeth.
Sure, whatever.
Featuring Megadeth.
Yeah.
All right.
It's fine.
All right. Let me just change that real quick. All
right. Say something again, Adrian, real quick.
All right. How do I sound?
You sound like yourself. So that's
all right.
good.
Cool. I'll speak a little bit louder. My bad.
Nah, you're good. Just want to make sure. All right, we ready?
All right. Hello, and welcome to Three Guys and a Mic presents A Metalhead's Journey, the Big Four, featuring Megadeth. I'm your co-host, The Human Dart, along with
David Disaster.
Adrian Aftershock.
Yeah.
Yo.
What's up?
Hey man, it only took 2 tries, no big deal.
Yeah, man. Hey.
Normally take.
I know, man. Look, man, you got to watch the YouTube.
I usually get it in one shot.
You know what's
I usually get it in
ironic?
one shot.
What's ironic is that before we started recording, also on YouTube, is man these took a lot of shots when we were just on the pod. But
Yeah.
hey, for those listening in,
Now that there's possibly one person watching us every week, I get a little nervous, so I write it out.
yeah, hey, for those listening, you might have heard a different voice. Adrian,
Yes, that's me. Sorry, my bad.
hey, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Adrian. Aftershock. I've been on the pod before, so it's me again. Yeah, I am responsible for that amazing, awesome intro you guys have, and I am, open for, creating something new for y'all. I've been thinking about it too. Actually, I have a couple things written. We can talk about that later.
All right, well,
I mean, look, here's the good thing is at least at least we're not here talking about Star Wars book. Star Wars. We're here to talk about fucking metal.
yeah.
Yes.
So
And more particularly thrash metal, Megadeth.
yeah, believe it or not, well, I guess I'll kind of start a little bit. So
Now's as good a time as any, Dave. Do it.
yeah, so what we're doing is once every 5 weeks, barring scheduling, we're going to be going through all the big four. So not long ago, I'll give you a super brief backstory. We're all getting older, so we all kind of we're starting to get to that point where all new music sounds like garbage. Because it
Yeah,
is.
we actually discovered that Jason doesn't even listen to music anymore. He just listens to the fucking news.
Yeah, so that's why he's not on here. But
Yeah. You old fuck.
but so we started thinking like, okay, how do we find new music that's not new? And one of the first logical things we did, we're all big Metallica fans. We've all seen Metallica multiple times in concert. Grew up listening to them, the whole nine. And so we started thinking like, okay, what is something other than Metallica, kind of in that vein, that we can try to get into? And we started all talking and realized none of us have really listened to any of the other bands in the thrash metal big four.
Yeah.
So
And those 4 bands, for those maybe not in the know, Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, and Anthrax.
yeah, so we kind of figured, okay, that is a good place to start. And since obviously we're not going to start with Metallica, that would be super boring to start with. So we figured we'd start with something Metallica adjacent, right? I kind of can't get away from that, but it's Megadeth. So coming into this, I had only heard Rust in Peace, and I had only heard it in its entirety maybe like I don't know, like 10 years ago or so, maybe more, maybe less, I don't know, something around that time. But that was my only experience with Megadeth coming into this. Josh?
Yeah, I think if you've listened to this podcast long enough, you know that I'm either this or so I'm either a Star Wars or a Star Trek. Star Trek, obviously. Metallica or Megadeth, obviously the mighty Metallica. So I've definitely not been a anything resembling a Megadeth fan at all in my entire lifetime. In fact, I've mostly argued against other people that are Megadeth fans out there about how shitty Megadeth is. Full transparency, though, I did own, or still own, 2 Megadeth albums, like actually CDs. I own Killing Is My Business, and I own Countdown to Extinction. So I had heard a couple of these albums before we got here, but I had not heard anything really from Peace Cells, Rust in Peace or So Far So Good So What. So this was mostly it was a new journey.
And when was the last time prior to this that you had heard either of those two records that you owned?
Countdown to Extinction and Symphony of Destruction were both they're both part of my what I call my lifetime playlist, which is just a lifetime that I put together on Spotify, or a playlist I put together on Spotify over the last 5 or 6 years of just general favorite songs. So those two songs have been on there for quite a while, but I mean it'd been 15 years since I'd listened to anything off Killing Is My Business.
Adrian?
Yeah, so I'm definitely guilty of being too much of a Metallica fan, and just by association, I have to hate Megadeth, right?
That's right.
Even as a kid, I remember carving in the sheetrock in my bedroom, "Megadeth sucks," and this is not even maybe of here. I probably heard the song "Symphony of Destruction," and that's about it at the time. It's a stupid, immature console wars type bullshit. I really had no reason to think Megadeth sucks, other than I felt like I was supposed to. So all of these albums, with the exception of maybe a handful of songs like Hangar 18, Symphony of Destruction, of course, I've never heard any of them any way through at all. So all of it's basically new to me completely. I remember when we used to jam, I intentionally drove up blaring Hangar 18 just to get an eye roll out of Josh. But I legit, like, I didn't have it on my playlist because I liked it. I did it just to troll Josh.
So I don't know if you guys were prepared to do this, but I'm gonna just just for those listening that don't know us, I'm just gonna just so you know, since we're gonna take this journey through Megadeth and give our opinions of it firsthand. I want to give people an idea of my favorite albums, right? So some of my favorite, what I would consider my masterpiece albums that I enjoy. So, and I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here. So obviously, some of my favorite Metallica records are going to be, and Justice for All, Master, Puppets, Ride the Lightning. But I like all of them. And non-Metallica albums, I like Death's Symbolic and Scavenger of Human, or sorry, what's that?
The Sound of Perseverance.
Sound of Perseverance. I always mess that up. And obviously I like Dream Theater. I love pretty much most of their material. I like Tool, pretty much all of their material. But that's just just to give you an idea of where I'm coming from on this, is that's kind of my musical background, right? I mean, I like plenty of other stuff, but those would be like my Machine Head. I was gonna mention them as well. So that's kind of where I'm coming from musically when I'm approaching this. So I don't know if you guys wanted to add anything to that, but that's just kind of where I'm coming from.
That's pretty much almost the same for me, man. Symbolic is probably one of my favorite Death albums. I'd probably say Human is my favorite Death album. It's not their best album, but it's my favorite Death album. Machine Head for sure. And I'd say just it's pretty cliche, but Master of Puppets is my favorite Metallica album. It does not have a single skippable song on it to me. So yeah.
Josh?
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit more of a simpleton when it comes to music compared to these guys. I like stuff to stay just in that 4 time range, just a nice little head bobber. So, I'm a big Pantera fan, Black Label Society, like Mafia, for Pantera, like Far Beyond Driven. Excuse me. Seven Dust, Seasons. Stuff like that. Metallica, obviously the two best Metallica albums, Ride the Lightning and Load. I love those albums too. So
I will say this:
I can't say it without a laugh because I know how much everybody hates Load, but I love that fucking album. First album I ever bought with my own money.
Look, I'll say this, and I think Adrian will agree to a degree. Load and Reload have grown on me as I've gotten older. I've come more to appreciate them. Now, I do feel like you can kind of make a best of out of the two records and kind of get like a supreme record out of the two. But I have learned to, I have grown up more into appreciating those albums versus when I was, 20 years younger. So also for reference, I think we should just mention that we're all in our mid to late 30s, if that's a point of contention for anybody.
So I'm 33, so I'm in my early 30s.
Sorry, my bad. You're the child of the bunch.
But anyway, we'll save all that Metallica talk for when we get there.
But this is on Megadeth. So, Josh, I know you had a little bit of a backstory on some of these albums. I don't know if you wanted to kind of get started with the first album. Kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so just before we get into the albums, just a quick little thing on the formation of Megadeth. For those that don't know, give me 1 second. Sorry. For those that don't know, Dave Mustaine was originally in the other Big Four band, Metallica, which is why Megadeth. Hey man, we're already dropping little beads of knowledge here. Which is why Megadeth gets compared to Metallica so often. That, and as we'll find on the first album here, sounds like they share some music as well. So, anyway, just a quick recap here. Dave Mustaine is fired from Metallica on April 11th of 1983. He then vowed to create a band while he was on the bus ride all the way back to California, like a bitch. He vowed to create a band that was faster and heavier than. So, gets back to California, starts looking for some new bandmates. He gets linked up with Dave Ellefson, who becomes the mainstay bass player for him for the bulk of Megadeth's existence until he was recently. He's been kicked out of the band twice, but more recently he was kicked out of the band probably for good due to some sexual assault allegations. But Ellefson was a big part of his musical journey with Mustaine throughout most of these albums. And then he gets linked up with Chris Poland and Gar Samuelson. And so Dave Mustaine, Chris Poland, Dave Ellefson, Gar Samuelson, those are the main players for Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good that came out in 1985.
Quick question. I legit don't know the answer to this. Why was Mustaine kicked out of Metallica or fired?
He couldn't handle his from what I recall, because I was there, is that ultimately he couldn't handle his liquor. Amongst other things, but I feel like that was the main factor.
He was having a little bit of a drug and alcohol problem.
Okay.
And let's be honest, Kirk Hammett's a better guitar player.
We'll
talk about that later.
We'll talk. Yeah. I mean, look, you had to know we were going to get our jabs in a little bit, but We'll do our best to keep that to a minimum.
I think people will be surprised once we get into some of these albums. So, just one more quick anecdote here before we get going. It did say that he did try to find a lead singer of the band for about 6 months, but he gave up and just started singing for himself. So, imagine where they would be if they had just tried for maybe 7 months instead of 6.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's hop into the first album. So the first album is Killing Is My Business, Business Is Good. This came out in 1985. This had 254,000 albums sold. Now, granted, you got to remember all these albums being sold. And this is only tracked post May 25th, 1991. So, obviously, we know they sold more albums than this, but this is all this actually trackable. So, they sold 254,000 albums. This album peaked at number 169 on the Billboard album charts. They were given $8,000 to make this record, but they only made it for $4,000 because they used the other $4,000 to buy alcohol and drugs.
Heyo.
Yeah,
that's brutal.
So just so everybody knows kind of how we're going to go through this list here, or each one of these albums, we're going to talk about a few of the key things. So production, instrumentation, vocals, and then we're going to talk about the good and the bad songs. So, just overall, I mean, what'd you guys think of Killing Is My Business? Just to kind of get started.
You want to go first, Adrian?
Sure. So I wasn't excited to listen to this album at all. Full transparency. I think Kill 'Em All is a terrible album. It is my least favorite Metallica album. It is like listening to nails on a chalkboard for me. It is just not good. So I was expecting Killing Is My Business to be very similar, and I was really shocked right up front. Even the first track, which is Last Rites, Love to Death. It just
Great song.
I mean, it was just, I couldn't believe it. So first impressions of the album, what I did was listen to them each 5 times, and I would say each time I appreciated it more. And if I could go ahead and say this, of the 5, it's my second favorite of the 5. So yeah.
My thoughts were okay. So Josh will probably have similar thoughts because of the same reason. But so my initial thoughts of this record, again, I wasn't, this is the first Megadeth record we were jumping into at the start of this journey, right? So I had a lot of preconceived notions of what Megadeth was supposed to sound like for me, and it's just that initial like fanboy in me that just like I wanted to hate this, like going in. I if I'm being honest with myself, I wanted to hate it, right?
I was pretty open.
I was pretty open, but so the version that I had listened to initially was the original album cut. Okay, and
Same.
And so I was not initially impressed with the record. I thought the songs were decent. Like I thought the songs were good, but I thought they were.
It was just hard to hear what was going on.
Yeah, I thought the production really held it back like severely, and so full disclosure, like it was not going to rank very well at all on the shitometer for me. But just like 3 or 4 days ago, I was informed that they, as recently as 2018, had done another remaster of this record. And I was like, okay, let's, by that point I was already kind of enjoying Megadeth, spoiler. So I was kind of excited to hear this, and man, it's like a completely different record. It's
a game changer.
Yeah. There's still a couple of tracks on here that we'll get into that I'm not a big fan of, but overall, this shot it up like 10 to 15 points for me on the shitometer, like instantly. And now I actually would probably go back and I will definitely go back and listen to this record now. It went from being just an okay record to me to a pretty good record, and I can definitely see why Megadeth was instantly popular, when they first came out on the scene.
Yeah. So I own this record, so I it's from here. I basically settled on really enjoying 2 songs from this record, but overall I just felt like that the whole album is just, I think he definitely achieved what he wanted, which is making something that was faster. And I mean, look, heavier is subjective, but faster and heavier than Metallica. Because this album is it's nonstop all the way through.
Yeah.
So it's very fast, very chaotic, kind of all over the place. Like we mentioned, I'll start with just some of the different categories we're going to talk about here. But the production, obviously, for me, was dog shit. Until we discovered The Last Kill. And then that changed the game for me when it came to production. But
yeah,
I spent most of my 5 weeks with the original version of it, so dog shit for the production. The instrumentation is very good. Megadeth's one of the rare metal bands that you can actually hear the bass really well.
Yep.
Pretty much in any track, any album. So they put that to the forefront. The guitar playing obviously is really good. And then the vocals, this will be a common theme across most of this. Straight shit. Like, fucking awful. These vocals were shit. Overall, though, I don't know when we want to bust into...
Well,
Plus into our shitometer scores here.
well, I was gonna say like if you wanted to stop there and let me let us talk about the first three categories, and then we'll get into lowlights and highlights there. So I'll go next. So production I put overall was incredibly weak. I think the original album compared to some of the other albums that were released around that time, I think this is notably worse. The original production I'm referring to. But I did note on here that this absolutely needed a remaster, or that it needed that remaster, and that remaster, like we've already said, it infinitely helps the record. As far as musicianship, I put that the guitars and bass are solid. Like the guitar work is very intricate immediately, very fast. I mean, faster than the contemporaries at the time, or faster than a lot of them. And as Josh pointed out, I think the bass is on point. Now, I did mention that the drums for me felt a little bit like lost. Like I was not a huge fan of the drumming on this record overall. Like, yeah, it's just typical thrash drumming, but it didn't stand out to me in any real meaningful way. And I think Dave's vocals on this record are the worst of the first five. And I don't think it's close.
Oh, listen, I'll argue that because his vocals do get worse in some of the coming albums, in my opinion.
Well, we'll have to just agree to.
I think his vocals at least somewhat fit the style of this music.
I'll give you that.
As far as like just all out thrash in the first album. Whenever as we get into some of the other albums where they start to change their sound a little bit, his voice does not change along. It's even worse.
Adrian, what you got?
Go ahead, Gomez.
So for production, I'm guilty of going straight for the remaster. I did not hear the original because I had no interest in hearing the original. Not that I knew it would be that much of a difference, but I knew there'd be some. So,
you should, after this is over, do yourself a favor and go back and just listen to the original.
Will I be doing myself a favor, though?
No, but it's just night and day. Just so you can see how the other two peasants on this podcast lived for 4 weeks.
Gotcha. And musicianship, I will say, as far as guitar goes, there is some real inspiring shit on there. Like, it really makes me sad that I didn't give these guys a chance until I'm 33 years old, and I had my entire youth to try, and I just no. Mm-hmm. I have to agree with Dave. The drums are pretty much forgettable in this. It's just typical, nothing that stands out about them. And I definitely appreciate the production as far as being able to hear the bass for sure. Vocals, just to echo what Josh said, I think it does fit. I'll take these vocals over Kill 'Em All's vocals, James Hetfield's Kill 'Em All vocals, any day of the week. But I'll tell you what, if Metallica ever remasters Kill 'Em All, or remixes it or something, I don't know. Maybe just maybe I would like the album. But yeah,
I think they have remastered it, but just not quite to the extent of Killing Is My Business.
Gotcha. I mean, I'd say that's one of my biggest problems with Kill 'Em All. Not to talk about Metallica while we're talking about this, but is the production. So, I mean, the production of the version of this album that I heard, Killing Is My Business, I thought it was really good.
So, lowlights, like what are our skippers here?
Oh, look, I think there's. Yeah, I didn't even write down the cover because that's straight just garbage.
I did.
Look, I have one skippable song on this album. Absolutely, I'll listen to it. Mechanics. So full transparency, the only reason I bought this album when I was a younger, stupid person was for the mechanics. Because I was like, I got to hear this version, Horseman, basically, right? And listen, maybe this is me being biased, and I can't do anything about that. I've listened to the Four Horsemen thousands of times in my life. I can't unhear it. Like, when this song comes on, I hear like it's Metallica playing it in fast forward. And then as soon as it kicks in, I start singing the Four Horsemen every single time. So I just can't listen to it. It sucks.
All right, so I have the title track. I am actually not a big fan of the title track outside of the cover. The Killing Is My Business. It's goofy. I just don't. I instinctivally want to skip it every time that when I put this record on. And also these boots, like, I'll say this: you're gonna hear this at least 2 more times. Dave Mustaine needs to stop doing covers. Oh, I mean, good thing he does. Like, he does a stop, but it's like, dude, stop. Just, I don't know what he was thinking.
Every cover is a low light.
It's fucking terrible. Adrian.
Yep. For me, there is not a single skippable track except these boots. And when I say skippable, I mean if I could, I'm just gonna make a playlist of this album and not include that song, and then it's a good album.
Fair enough.
All right, so Shitometer, I got. I'm just gonna go with mine first, and I will say this is the lowest score of any album on here for me, and it's a 38.
By lowest, you mean worst score?
Yeah, sorry, it's the worst score, and it's 38, which is good.
This is the album I've changed the score on the most throughout the whole process, and I've settled on this being my third favorite album, and I gave it a 46.
46.
46.
Yeah, so this used to be a 52 for me prior to hearing the Last Rides, or whatever it's called. What is it called? The Last Kill.
Last Kill.
Yeah, that's Last Rites is a song.
Yeah. Okay, so I had to think about this for quite some time. By quite some time, I mean 10 minutes, but I was looking like I was trying to figure out the cure for cancer. As I mentioned earlier, this is my second favorite album of the 5. I gave this one a 20%.
Whoa.
Damn. That's pretty robust.
So that,
in my rotation,
so
moving forward.
So that gives this a 30, almost a 35, 34. That's pretty good. We didn't talk about it, but just some quick highlights for the record are Rattlehead, Last Rites, which is the first song, and The Mechanics. I'm sorry, Josh. It's one of my highlights. I actually really like that song.
Adrian,
it's
so bad.
What are your highlights?
Damn, Dave, they are literally the same exact 3. Last Rites, Rattlehead, and Mechanics. And real quick, with Mechanics, I was sitting there listening to this album for the first time, sitting in the office, and I was like, why do I know this song? And it finished, and I started it over, and I'm like, man, I've never heard this album before. Why the hell do I know this song? And then it hit me. This is a Metallica song it has to be from Kill 'Em All, because I would know which one. Anyway, I went to Kill 'Em All and started like hitting them one by one, and finally got to Four Horsemen, and I was like, holy shit, okay. No wonder when I was 15, this guy told me he hates Metallica because they stole Megadeth music. Right? Anyway, I would definitely say I prefer Mechanics. Not because of the vocals specifically, but the speed. The speed of it. It just sounds better to me.
Oh, it just sounds like, I don't know, man. It just sounds like some garage bands playing it way too fast.
I feel like if Josh could be, if Josh could magically, and you might even agree with this, if you could wipe the Four Horsemen from your brain, I feel like you would like the Mechanics a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't look. Like I said, my biggest problem is I can't turn off in my brain what it is. Like every time I hear it, I'm like, it's Four Horsemen.
Yeah.
Because I've heard Four Horsemen thousands of times. I've heard the Mechanics 20 times. You know, so it's astronomically different. And oddly enough, my 2 highlights for the album, Last Rites and Rattlehead.
Hey, look, then we clearly are in sync here.
Those are good songs. Yeah. All right. So that's Killing Is My Business. That was their first album. So now we're going to transition to the second album, which for a lot of folks, this seems to be the main event. So this next album is called Peace Sells, But Who's Buying? Came out the next year, 1986. This had the same lineup. So this was Mustaine, Poland, Samuels. This album, again, remember, these are 1990. This album sold 609,000 copies, but it is certified platinum album. This album peaked at 76 on the Billboard charts. Just some quick anecdotes here. Mustaine and Ellefson were homeless during the album, while Poland and Samuelson were battling a heroin addiction. And they changed their style on this one because they wanted to change the perception of metal by writing songs that had socially aware lyrics.
All right.
Which I think they succeeded because all these songs are political.
Yeah. I would say mission accomplished on that front.
So one thing I left off, I apologize. This album, so we're debating this right now, but we're going to do something similar to our AF top movie list. We're going to do the same thing, but with right now we're talking about using the Rolling Stones top 100 heavy metal albums of all time.
I don't think
so I based a little bit of info. Well, fuck you. I based some information on this based off of the idea. Actually, the album all time on Rolling Stone's top 100 metal albums of all time.
It was ranked what? I'm sorry.
I ranked number 8.
Ah,
Shit. Yeah, you cut off right when you were about to say the number.
No, number 8.
Okay. I mean, that's... Look, okay. So, I think we're going to just kind of talk about everything all at once this go-around, right? So...
Yeah.
I'll just get started on Peace Cells. So I thought right away, I said the production is much improved over the first record. I think that's. I
literally have the same thing typed in my notes. Much improved.
Yeah. So I think the production. Okay. So I just need to say this get this out of the way. I did not understand this record. Because I knew going in that this was considered like by many. Because this came out the same year as Master of Puppets and as Rain and Blood, two of the other big four bands, Slayer, Metallica. So,
I know that.
So, 86, obviously a good year for metal, right? But a lot of people consider this, like Peace Cells, like of the 3 albums released in 86, like this is their favorite for a decent number of people. And so I kind of had that in my brain going into this, and so I'll talk about it. The production is good. I would say the production is very good. You can hear all the instruments. I would say the drumming is improved on this. Overall, I would say the musicianship definitely takes a step up from the previous record for me. But I just initially did not hear like a quote-unquote classic or masterpiece when I heard this. For the first, 4 weeks, I just wasn't... It wasn't bad. I didn't think it was a bad record. I just didn't get it, and I just really... It took a long time. But this last week, I've been really listening to it constantly. I've actually had this be in my rotation the most because I really wanted to try to understand what people hear. And I don't know what happened, but this record has clicked for me. I think the guitar solos on this record are very good. Chris Poland is a very good guitar player who's, I think, somewhat underrated. You don't hear his name talked about.
He's more known as a jazz guitar player.
Yeah, I think it's very good. Dave's vocals are, I put in my notes, Dave's vocals are actually listenable on this record compared to the previous one. I think just the overall direction of the lyrics and everything are just way more improved than the previous record. This gets a 32 for me on the shitometer.
Right on.
Wow.
So that's where I'm at with it.
Okay, I'll go next. Production. So again, I listened to the remastered version on Spotify, even though the original is on there. Or I don't know if it's the original but it's the more recent remaster. So the production was obviously really good. I went into this with kind of knowing that it was going to be though it's supposedly their best, if not rust in peace. So I did go into it expecting a lot and hoping it would be better than Killing Is My Business. I don't think it is in many respects, but musicianship, obviously, it's better. I got to be honest, as far as lyrics go, not really 100% sure if I could comment on it. But as far as vocals go, I do think it's an improvement for sure. You know, at when we get to this album, talking about albums that came out in '86, say Master of Puppets or Rain and Blood, I'll say those two albums are way better. And there's not even a question. But that being said, when Dave and I were talking about this album, he said it grew on him, but I liked it right off the bat. Listening to it just the first time. In fact, I remember texting him saying, "Man, I'm actually listening to this album for fun, not just because I feel like I have to for this podcast we're doing." So musicianship, obviously, it's I'd say it's similar to the first album for me. It's good. Don't really have any specific anything notable other than I will say the guitar playing. I feel like it kind of has no soul as far as the solos go. And Josh mentioned Kirk Hammett's a better guitarist, and for me, the reason I would agree with that is because of the way he plays. It just has so much heart, so much soul, and I think that's something this album lacks as far as guitar solos go. As vocals, I already went into that. So yeah, I will say of the 5 albums, this is my third favorite. And should I go ahead and give my shitometer score?
Yeah, go for it.
I give this a 30%.
You said 30 even?
30% even, yeah.
All right.
All right. So for me, again, like kind of going to this, when me and Dave were talking, we knew that this was generally regarded as being like the main event for Megadeth. So while I was going into all these albums with, little to no expectation, I went into this with at least a little bit more expectation because I was like, okay, look, if this one's regarded as being one of the best of all, it's got to be good. Man, I'm so disappointed in this record. There is one good song on this album, and there's a ton of skippable songs in my opinion. Just going through some of the categories here, like Dave said earlier, production much improved, instrumentation. Look, I wrote down better riffs, but what I mean is better song structure. It's a little bit more listenable for me. I'm not big in that style anymore. Is more just something that chugs along, right? So
yeah.
There was some more, at least slower tempos on this one for me, which I enjoyed. To Adrian's point again, I did no guitar solo, just kind of blah. Like they're just jamming them in there. And vocals for me, this is the worst vocals of any album for me. Whoa. Because he can get away with screaming with the thrash. We can get away with the style of vocals he was using on the first record. On this one, I feel like there were songs that maybe called out for more melody, more singing. And man, it wasn't there. And particularly on Devil's Island, oh my God. That might be the worst Megadeth song I've heard yet. That song sucks. The biggest amount of cock in the history of time.
Jesus.
Holy shit. But anyway, man, dude, it starts with those vocals, man. As soon as he comes singing, it's such a struggle to get through it. So, Dave said, what's that?
You're not gonna like my highlights.
Oh man, come on. There's no way. Anyway, we'll get there. Like Dave said, I put myself through the pain of trying to listen to this album a bunch of times because I wanted to understand it. And it was kind of like Blade Runner, where it was like, man, it's just this. So many people love this movie, and I don't get it. So I got to watch it a bunch of times. So I listened to this album. I probably listened to this album the second most amount of times out of all the albums that we listened to. And I've settled on a score of 70%.
Jesus God.
This album is unlistenable.
Whoa.
That is look.
It's not good.
Look, okay, I'll just say this before all the Megadeth fans stop the podcast. If I can even save them, okay? The podcast is going to get better. I promise you. Okay.
Well, that's good because the albums get better.
Yeah, they do. I think 70 is fucking harsh. But hey, man, That's why there's 3 of us on here. So I'll just go real quick. Lowlights, I put I Ain't Superstitious. That's the only lowlight I have.
Yep.
My highlights are The Conjuring, Peace Cells, and Wake Up Dead. Adrian, what are yours?
Lowlights. Again, not anything skippable except the cover. I think this is the worst cover of them all. No, it's not. It's the second worst cover of them all. Highlights.
Goddamn, this cover is so bad.
Yeah. Highlights. Peace Cells, Good Morning Black Friday, and Devil's Island.
All right, Josh.
All right,
besides
my lowlights.
the record.
Yeah, my lowlights. Devil's Island, and Good Morning Black Friday.
Whoa.
Literally. And the only good song I have on here is The Conjuring.
Cool.
The Conjuring's got that nice, tasty halftime buggy. That's just my game.
Right on.
All right.
All right.
So what's
All right. So that's it for Peace Cells.
Well, I guess
Yeah. What was the aggregate score there?
Oh, give me 1 second. I'll get you all that in a. So you said 70, my 32, and you said 30, right?
I said 30. Yep.
44.
Damn.
All right. All right. So, like we mentioned here in the recap on Peace Cells, we know Poland and Samuelson were battling a pretty nasty heroin addiction. It actually kind of got out of control, and Chris Poland and Gar Samuelson are fired before recording. Chris Poland particularly was fired because he was pawning Megadeth's gear, everybody's gear, in order to buy more heroin. So this is the first time we get a lineup change. So we get Samuelson and Poland out. We get Jeff Young and Chuck Beeler in. And
I don't know that
we're talking about the albums so far.
I was gonna say I don't know that we hear those names ever again.
No,
after
we don't.
This.
But this is for the album So Far, So What, which came out in 1988. So this is their third album. This one had 388,000 records sold, but it again is certified platinum, so it shipped over 1 million before all the counting started. This album peaked at 28 on the Billboard chart. So up to now, this is the highest that they've peaked on the Billboard charts. And this is the first album that gets a writing credit from somebody other than Dave Mustaine. You have Dave Ellison contributing to about half the songs on this album.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'll go first on this one. So I was pretty excited about Megadeth, at least after the. And then Peace Cells really was kind of a downer for me. So I really was not looking forward to So Far, So Good, So What. So that may have helped this album because I went in with no expectations, and I was pleasantly surprised. I really enjoyed this album for most of the time that I've listened to it. I've kind of soured on it a little bit the longer I've listened to it. So I think initially I really Peace Cell, but I've kind of lost my love. But production-wise, I think it's incredibly similar to Peace Cell. Sounds just like it to me. So I didn't feel like there was any difference in the production of it. Instrumentation, I think there was a huge upgrade in songwriting on this one for me from Peace Cells. I felt like the guitar playing was better in it. There's some fucking tasty riffs on this album, and I think the best song I've heard them play live. So what I do is go watch concerts of Megadeth, so I could kind of get some of the live experience. And there's a song on here that I think is the best live song by far. So I've really enjoyed a lot of the songs on this album. The vocals I have is still bad. Look, they've at least on this album, I think they wrote to work around his vocals a little bit more. But in general, it still just leaves me wanting. Like, I really wish there was a passable singer, a talented, a semi-talented. Not even a, like we were talking about earlier, like a Corey Taylor or something. Just somebody like that's good. But overall, I find this album to be pretty good. I give it a 55.
Oof. Dang, you must have come down pretty low on that then.
I think I started somewhere in the mid 40s on that one. It's way down.
Yeah, so I'm kind of I'll go next. I'm kind of right there with you. This record has fallen for me as well. I think the problem, not problem, but I think the issue is that I've started to appreciate the other records more, and so this naturally, like, this has been the one I've least wanted to go back to of the 5.
So far, so bad. Huh?
So far, so bad. So what? So I say in production, I think this one took a step back in production slightly from the previous record. Now that could be due to the more recent remaster of Peace Sells, which is the one I heard. So I mean, there's some factors there, but overall, I just thought the production on this one was just not quite as good. I think the musicianship for this one is, I feel like it's okay, but again, I feel like every time I've heard this record, it's gotten worse and worse for me, and there's like more songs that I want to skip than there were initially. I think I was dealing with the same problem as Josh, where when we first started listening to these 5 albums, I wasn't in love with Killing Is My Business. I didn't quite understand Peace Sells yet, so like my expectations were just starting to just get really low. And so when I heard this, I was like, oh, wow, this is like something different. So initially I was like, oh, this is easily the best of the first 3. When in fact now it's kind of fallen a lot. Vocals, I put that they're about on par with Peace Sells. Nothing wildly different. Nothing, it is what it is. But overall, this record to me, it doesn't sound very inspired. At least now, but based on my initial excitement with it, I'm still gonna give it a 37. It's only just I only have it slightly more recommend than Killing Is My Business, but I feel like that is a tentative 37. I feel like if you ask me the same question 6 months from now, I feel like my score is gonna get worse on this. So that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. Yeah, so on Spotify there is no like remaster of this album, at least not a recent one. So as far as production goes, I mean, I didn't really notice anything worse or better. It's just kind of whatever. I will go I'll get into musicianship. So for this album, I guess I didn't even have to be told that the lineup changed, because you can just tell. This is the only album for me of the 5 where the guitar playing has some heart and soul and some balls, and I absolutely love it. As far as vocals, I find it hard to comment on because I've never really been a vocals guy. It's really hard to get me to care about that. I mean, I love instrumental music, and ironically, this album starts with a epic instrumental, and that instrumental is my favorite song on the album.
That does sound good though. I like that song.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Into the Lungs of Hell.
Yeah, Into the Lungs of Hell. So of the 5, this is my favorite album, hands down. There is not a single skippable track except that piece of shit, Anarchy in the UK.
Wow.
Which it's just absolutely horrendous. That is the worst cover of them all, to me. Like, I'd rather listen to
laughably bad.
Yeah, it's just, I can't do it. I can't even pretend. It's just terrible. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 15% on the shit-o-meter. This is a phenomenal album, and if anybody who has
15,
a 15, anyone who hasn't listened to Megadeth and says, "Hey, which album?" I mean, I don't know if I'd recommend this one, but I feel like I would want to. This is my favorite of the 5.
Like, it's not the classy pick, but it's your favorite.
Correct. It's like not even close. Did Josh die?
Yeah, he's coming back though.
Okay.
So that gives an overall score of a 35.66.
The 15 is robust.
Well, question. If you guys don't mind reminding me, David, you said 35, 37?
35.60. Oh, my score was a 37, yeah.
Josh?
Was a 7.
55?
55, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, just low lights. I just love how me and Adrian are on the total opposite side of every one of these. The only low light I have on this album is Into the Lungs of Hell. It's a terrible instrumental. It's terrible.
It's one of my highlights.
Yeah, I don't. But look, I don't like instrumental music. Like, look, when we get to the Metallica ones, let me tell you what I'm skipping. Every instrumental. For the good side of this, In My Darkest Hour, epic song, and this is the live song I was referring to. If you guys haven't listened to this song live yet, listen to it on one of the videos. Man, it's so much. It makes me appreciate the song so much more. Just the way they're so tight when they play it live, it's really good. Liar, I fucking love Liar. This was my favorite song of Megadeth's up to this point before we get into Rust in Peace. So I love Liar. And Mary Jane is really fucking good. Like, it has like a kind of like a Black Sabbath-y, Ozzy kind of thing going for a little bit, and then it kind of cranks up, and you get the nice fucking harmony guitar on the bridge. So I really enjoy Mary Jane as well.
So I like unintentionally almost used every song as for my lowlights and highlights. I didn't really mean to. But Lowlights, Anarchy in the UK, and 505. I fucking hate 505. That song sucks.
Yeah, 505s. I toyed with putting it on my lowlights, but I'm like, it's okay.
It's fucking not good. I after about like the 5th week of like trying to force myself to listen to that song, like, I'll be honest with you, like over the last 2 days, I listened to every album again. Just to get make sure I was fresh on every one of them, and I got like halfway through that song, and I'm like, nope, my thoughts have not changed, and I just moved on. Highlights: Into the Lungs of Hell. I'm right there with Adrian. That opening track is actually good, and I think that is the first time that a guitar solo with some heart has been on a Megadeth record.
I hate opening with an instrumental.
Okay. It's weird. I don't disagree.
And then In My Darkest Hour, Set the World on Fire, or World Afire. And
World Ablaze.
Okay, I must have wrote that down wrong. Anyway, and Mary Jane. I almost accounted for almost every song. I don't remember. There's like 1 or 2 that I didn't account for.
Low lights for me is just going to be Anarchy in the UK.
God, that song sucks.
To me, there's nothing really skippable, but the highlights are going to be Into the Lungs of Hell, Set the World Ablaze, Mary Jane, and 502.
505. Is it 505 or 502?
I'm going to go with Adrian's 5. I think it's 502.
Okay. Dude, I don't know where the fuck I got my fucking shit from.
Now you're having me like second guess.
Now I'm having to go look it up.
Let's see.
Well, while you're doing that, let me go on.
All right, go ahead. Talk about the next one.
So this one I kind of have the most little anecdotal information for. So we skip ahead now to the 4th album here, and this album's called Rust in Peace. This one came out in 1990. So this one had another lineup change where we saw Jeff Young and Chuck Beeler leave the band, and we get the introduction of Marty Friedman and Nick Menza. So let's skip ahead here. So this is generally regarded as being the classic lineup for Megadeth. So this will be the same lineup we have here for the next 5 albums, I believe. So just a quick little thing on the guitar search and drummer search for this album. So I copied this from Wikipedia, so just bear with me here. It says with Mustaine, and this is another big change for the album as well, as Dave Mustaine is sober for the recording of this album. So with Mustaine sober, Megadeth continued searching for a new lead guitarist. Guns N' Roses guitar player Slash had been jamming with Mustaine and Elvson.
Hey Josh, real quick, sorry.
Yeah.
I think you're a little too close to the mic because you're like blasting the
All right.
overhead. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. I'm trying not to have the little skipping problem I was having.
Nah, you're good. You're good. Is
this better?
Yeah, fine. I think it was a little too much. My bad.
Nope, you're good. So Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash had been jamming with Mustaine and Ellefson, and although it seemed that he might join Megadeth, he remained with Guns N' Roses. Dimebag Darrell of Pantera was offered the job, but the deal fell through after Mustaine refused his request to recruit his brother, Pantera drummer Vinnie Paul, as he had already hired Nick Menza.
God, could you fucking imagine?
Yep.
Holy shit, dude.
So
that's gonna be a huge meh for me, but whatever.
I mean, it's what could have been, right? I mean, I'm glad Pantera was there and Dimebag Darrell didn't join Megadeth, but so this album sold 781,000 copies, another certified platinum album. This album peaked at 23 on the Billboard charts. This album is also the number 19 album all time on Rolling Stone's heavy metal list. Now, we do get something a little bit different here with this album. This is the first time that Megadeth has been nominated for a Grammy.
Whoa.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me get there real quick. So, just real quick, they have been nominated for 12 Grammys throughout their entire career. So, in this case, they're nominated in the Best Metal Performance category. Let me tell you who else is in this category. So, you got Megadeth's Rust in Peace, Judas Priest for Painkiller, Suicidal Tendencies for Lights, Camera, Revolution.
That's another good one.
You got Anthrax, Persistence of Time, and you got Metallica, Stone Cold Crazy.
What?
Who won this Grammy?
I'm gonna assume Metallica.
Dave, what do you think?
I'm gonna say I don't think it was Suicidal. I'm gonna say it was Anthrax. I'm probably wrong though.
You're super wrong. It was Metallica for the cover of Stone Cold Crazy.
Look. I as a Metallica fan, that was an completely incorrect pick by the people who run the Grammys.
You know what? Here's what I would tell you, Dave. Prior to listening to all these albums, I would tell you that was 100% the right choice because Metallica is the better band and Stone Cold Crazy is a really good cover. But then I heard Rust in Peace, and man, this album should have won that fucking Grammy. This album is a fucking metal masterpiece.
Yes.
I
can't believe you say that. For those that know Josh really well, that is a big statement. I know most people won't really understand that, but
it hurts me to say that. It hurts me to say that big time. Look, the production, huge improvement. The instrumentation, I only have one word written down here, which is wow. I think you get a huge boost from Marty Friedman being in this band. The guitar riffs, like, I have so many highlights, including 2 of my 3 favorite songs from Megadeth are on this album. I have so many highlights on this album. I think I get the feeling Adrian said that in the last album it was the only one that had any balls to it. That's how I felt about Rust in Peace. This is the first album where I really noticed the guitar playing as being like superior.
yeah.
I thought it was really, really good. The solos, particularly in Tornado of Souls, the guitar playing in that song is so fucking good. And then the vocals, I put on here that it's better. It's the only blemish on this album for me. But again, I think they did a much better job of writing music to play to the vocals. And I think maybe just more time in the production they actually spent producing the vocals, because there's actually times where I enjoy it. Like Tornado of Souls, look,
It probably helped that he was sober because he
yeah,
was able to.
Spoiler alert. Tornado of Souls is my favorite Megadeth song so far on all the albums that I've listened to, and his vocals are actually really good on it, especially the chorus. So I came in hot for this album. This is the only album that I've gone back to and listened to for fun, as Adrian said earlier, which I appreciated that statement. I gave this album a 10.
Whoa.
I'll go next. So, I put
This album is higher than. I'm sorry. This album is higher than a few Metallica albums for me.
Yeah, I agree. So I'll try not to repeat too much, but I will. I am going to repeat some of it because I think it warrants it. I got overall. This was the only Megadeth album that I was familiar with because I have owned it. I bought it a long time ago when I was in my late teens. And I basically bought it off of the strength of Holy Wars, and I probably listened to it once, like a few times all the way through in my late teens, but I hadn't really listened to it since. Production, I think this is the best sounding of any of the thrash metal albums that Megadeth has that we've heard so far. Musicianship, I put that it's unrivaled. To me, I think the musicianship on this record is unrivaled by any of the Megadeth records that we've heard of the first 5. I totally agree with Josh. I think the additions of Marty Friedman and Nick Menza, I know you didn't mention him specifically, but I think the drumming on here is fucking phenomenal. Like, it's the first time where the drumming is actually like, I can, like, if I want to pay attention to the drumming, like, it's actually interesting. I think you're spot on, Josh, when you talk about Dave's vocals. I think this is the best that his vocals have sounded. I think they do a good job of weaving it within the music, and because the music is so interesting, I think his vocals kind of add as like another instrument almost, because it just works so much better than previously done. Like, to me, this is the turning point in Megadeth for me, where, like, the first 3 records, like, let me be honest, like, they're good, but this is where I start to really see, like, what people who are into Megadeth, like, why they love Megadeth. And I'm also coming in really hot. On the shitometer, I give this an 8. I think this is an absolute heavy metal masterpiece. And I think this is right up there for me. This is in the conversation when you're talking about some of the greatest metal albums of all time.
I'm mad at myself for not listening to this sooner.
Yeah,
You guys are gonna hate me.
that's
All
fine.
right. Production. So far, so it's a 2004 remaster that I heard. It's the best production so far of all 4 of the of these first 4 albums, even the remasters of the other ones. It's very noticeable. It's so clean, and I just think it's fantastic. As far as musicianship, I think the drums, as Dave said, are very, very notable. This is the first time where I think the vocals were noticeable to me, in the sense where I was like, what the hell is this guy doing? There's a song called Five Magics, and he whips out these Cookie Monster vocals, and I'm just like, no. So, again, typically, I don't really care for, vocals. Whatever. Sometimes they're good. Other times I'm listening for the music, if I'm being honest with y'all. Now, as far as Marty Friedman goes, I kind of compare this Megadeth album, because, obviously they do not fuck around with this songwriting. Just right off the bat with Holy Wars and all those awkward time signatures and shifts and riff changes. It just sucks it like takes your breath away, and
and then you get a little Spanish guitar in there.
Yeah. But I kind of get the look. I can't ever talk shit about Dream Theater, right? But something that I will say about Dream Theater and what's old boy's name? The guitarist, John
Petrucci.
Yeah, John Petrucci. Is it's almost like a robot's playing the guitar, right? He's probably the best guitarist alive, but I'd rather hear a Kirk Hammett or an Eddie Van Halen or a Randy Rhoads play any day of the fucking week. And I kind of feel that way about the guitar playing on this entire album. It's just it goes back to the kind of having no soul and being just so good that it's almost robotic to me. Yeah. and that's where I'm at with that. Now, obviously, with production, this I would say this would be the album I'd recommend to people that want to get into Megadeth. I mean, those first two songs are gonna blow their asses out of the water. And I used to put not Holy Wars. I'm sorry, Hangar 18 on my MP3 player just to troll Josh. I had no interest in listening to that song, but actually give it a real listen, and it's like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
And same thing with Holy Wars. Just an awesome intro. I mean, that's like the perfect intro song. And I think I have to agree with y'all just overall that it's the quintessential Megadeth album. That being said, of the 5, this is my 4th favorite. I would take the first 3 over this one. I just would. And I give this one on the shitometer a 40%.
Wow.
Look, that's still gonna give us a 19.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So that's still a very good score. Like it's yeah. I think I think it's very interesting to hear kind of a different perspective from you, Adrian, on this. But yeah, I mean, for me, I think this is better than probably half of Metallica's records, in my opinion, at a minimum. So
Yeah. Low light for me, I only had one low light, and that was Dawn Patrol. Yeah. The only note I have on that song is super fucking lame.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Why do you even need that on there? And he played it live at I think it was the Rust in Peace where they played the whole thing through. So that's why they played it live. And it was stupid. It was fucking stupid live. Anyway, highlights. So obviously, like I said, Tornado of Souls. That's my favorite. My favorite Megadeth song of any of the first 5 albums so far. Great intro, great chorus. I think it's got the best solo of any of the first 5 albums. Lucretia is my other favorite song on this album. Super chuggy on the verse riff. I enjoyed that. Take No Prisoners, obviously super good, super heavy. I mean, it's the whole album, but Holy Wars, like everything after the Spanish guitar, like that riff after that, it's easily the best riff in Megadeth's catalog so far.
Yeah, so I got Dawn Patrol as my low light, and my highlights are Holy Wars, Hangar 18, and Tornado of Souls. But I'm gonna be honest, like I could have put more. Like I could have just put the rest of the record. But if I want to, if I'm having to cherry pick, just a few songs to show to somebody. One thing I will say about Rust in Peace is it's almost so good for me that, like, if this was the first record I show to somebody that's Megadeth, and if I say, hey man, you should listen to Megadeth, and they say, what album should I listen to? And I say Rust in Peace, they're gonna love it, and then they're gonna go back and listen to the other albums, and in my opinion, they're gonna be disappointed. That's how, and that's not a knock on the other 3 necessarily. But that's just how good Rust in Peace is. Like, it's almost not representative of what the band was before this record came out.
Do you think you would like the album as much as you do now if you hadn't gone through those first 3 records though? Like, is there a certain percentage of you that likes the album that much more because it's so much better and so much different than everything else you'd already listened to?
It almost sounds like a different band to me, like, in a way.
Yeah.
It's almost a completely different experience. It just sounds like a much more like I hate that we make all these comparisons, but it is what it is. It's like the leap that Metallica took from Kill 'Em All to Ride the Lightning. The difference here for me is that Megadeth, instead of doing it on their second record, they did it on their 4th. For me, at least. I know a lot of people say Peace sells and everything. That's fine. But for me, it's Rust in Peace is when they make their true turning point into becoming the Megadeth that I think a lot of people fell in love with. That's just my opinion as somebody coming in kind of as a third party.
So lowlights for me, I'm gonna have to agree with y'all. Dawn Patrol. I listened to the 2004 remaster, so there was several, I guess, additional tracks that I thought might have been a part of the original record. So there's like 2 songs on there that are like less than a minute, or rather less than 2 minutes, and I think those songs really suck. I know one of them's Dawn Patrol. I think the other one might be My Creation.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Then we have another low light for me is going to be Five Magics. I think that song is just. I mean, it starts off really good, and then I think Dave Mustaine's vocals just completely kill it for me. Highlights.
I think that song is like the okayest okay song on the album. Like, it's not skippable for me, but it's like, if it wasn't on the album, I wouldn't really care.
Right. Okay, that's fair. Highlights are going to be Holy Wars, of course, Hangar 18, of course, and Poison Was the Cure. And
no Tornado of Souls.
I'm gonna have to say I feel like this album was front loaded. Once we start getting into the other half, I feel like the album starts to get kind of boring. If I'm going to be honest with you, it's almost like it's so progressive. It's almost like I have no other way to put this, but it's almost like a chore to listen to. I would say sometimes Injustice feels that way, and almost every single Dream Theater album. I'm not almost every single Dream Theater album, even though it's good. It feels like a chore to listen to.
Yeah, it's like eating your vegetables.
Right.
Yeah, I was muted just now, but it's like eating an entire cake. Yeah, the first slice is good, but then you have
too much of a good thing.
Yeah, I can understand in that perspective. I can appreciate that. I mean, you're wrong, but I can appreciate it.
So just to talk about another Grammy nomination here. So they were actually the next year, 1992's Grammys, they were nominated for Hangar 18. So I guess maybe they released a single or something like that after a certain point. I don't know how this ends up being separate. But it's in the Best Metal Performance category against Anthrax again for Attack of the Killer Bees, Metallica for the Black Album, Motorhead for 1916, and Soundgarden for Bad Motorfinger.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Metallica this time.
Definitely going to be Metallica, obviously.
The Black Album wins that one. Okay, so going on to the last album here in the first 5. This is Countdown to Extinction. This one came out in 1992. As we said earlier, this is the same lineup as we've seen so far. So that's Mustaine, Ellefson, Friedman, and Nick Menza. So this album, this is their highest selling album to date. 2.3 million albums sold. This one peaked at number 2 on the Billboard charts. There was one pesky album that kept him from hitting number 1. Billy Ray Cyrus, Achy Breaky Heart.
Oh my God. That sucks.
Yeah. So this album is nominated for a Grammy for Best Metal Performance. Here are the other people in your category. You got Ministry for NWO, Soundgarden for a cover of Into the Void, Nine Inch Nails for Wish, and Helmet for In the Meantime. Who wins the Grammy?
I hope it's Megadeth.
I'd imagine it'd be Soundgarden.
Nine Inch Nails.
Whoa.
Yikes.
For Wish.
Man,
yeah.
Like, now at this point, I just want to interject here. I can totally understand why Dave Mustaine is, like, at this point in his career, like he's got a successful lineup. They're stable. He's got 2, well, I mean, at this point, I mean, all his records have sold relatively well. He got kicked out of what is at that time the biggest band ever, but he still is getting nominated for Grammys left and right and selling probably making millions of dollars. And he just can't get the recognition that he deserves. Like, I'd be so frustrated.
Yep.
Try on a Metallica movie though.
I mean, he was a big baby in that movie. So on this album, he actually had all 4 members contribute material to the album. And this album is most notable because they kind of followed suit with Metallica here in evolving their sound to be a little bit more groove based, maybe more hard rock in certain cases. So it's definitely a transition in sound here. Adrian, what'd you think about the album?
So, this is my least favorite album of the 5. And just to kind of continue with what you were saying about their transition here, is it didn't start with with Rust in Peace, but this album is kind of where you notice it, and I guess for me it starts getting frustrating and almost annoying. It's like, guys, why are you doing everything Metallica is doing? Like, get the fuck over it, move on. And like, I mean, that's the best revenge, right? Moving on and being successful. And this guy, it just has James Hetfield living in his head and Lars Ulrich living in his head rent free. And it's almost like I can't appreciate this album because of that. I will say it also suffers from Symphony of Destruction. I if there's a Metallica song that I just cannot do, it's Inner Sandman. It's because I've heard it 855 billion times, and I feel the same way about Symphony of Destruction. The production's obviously really good. It's probably the best of the five so far. The musicianship, I mean, they tone it down. There's nothing really exciting to me on this album. It's just kind of there. It's not a bad record, right? It's just, to me, the least exciting. I feel like it's boring, and I just can't shake that. Why are you guys copying Metallica? Because what y'all were doing before was actually good, and this is just flat out boring to me. Yeah, and so if I can touch on something here, there's a song on this album, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you that it's right now that it's on my low light, right? And this song is called "Sweating Bullets." So I'm sitting here listening to this song, right? It starts off. Okay, well, hold on. Let me backtrack for a second. So, you listeners of this podcast, you all know Jason Tsunami. He claims that when he bought Saint Anger in 2003,
Metallica's Saint Anger.
Metallica's Saint Anger in 2003, and he put it in his CD player in his car, put it on, and I'd like to think he got a few minutes into Frantic and just decided this is garbage. So he hits eject, grabs the CD, fucking hawks it out the window. He told us this story multiple times. None of us believe him. It's a funny story, but it's like bullshit. Who would throw out a CD, right? Okay, well, fast forward to 2021. I hear this song for the first time. It's obviously in digital format, right? Song starts, and then here come the vocals. Hello, me. Meet the real me. Okay, so if I was in my car, and this was a CD, I'd have hit eject, pulled the CD out, said, "Hello, CD, me oncoming traffic," and then fucking threw it out the fucking window, because that's where it would have belonged. So, yeah.
What's so funny is this is the one Megadeth song that me and Dave reference probably the most in all the time that we've known each other. I mean, only not because it's good, only because we always hit the line every time. Hello, me. Meet the real me. Like, we always do that shit. I don't know what context it comes up in, but sometimes we randomly say it.
Dude, it's just like, it's not. What's funny is that song dodged my lowlights and highlights. It's just kind of there for me. It's not
same.
But Adrian, did you have did you have any more thoughts, or did you want to give your shit-o-meter?
Let me get my shit-o-meter. This is going to be a 65% on the shit-o-meter.
Holy shit.
Holy shit-o-meter. Okay. I'll go next real quick. So, I think basically my only idea from this record, or my only prior knowledge, was Symphony of Destruction. And I was familiar with Sweating Bullets only because of, the aforementioned line. But other than that, I had not heard really any of the songs on this record to my memory. Maybe I heard a couple of them in passing, but I didn't really know anything about this record. So I knew that it was going to be a step down in terms of musicianship, and it was. I will say this, unlike Adrian, I thought the musicianship was very solid. I thought it was a very solid. I think overall the musicianship is solid. Like, the guitar solos are good for me. I think they still have some of the same magic as the prior record, just not as fast. I think, unfortunately, Nick Menz's clearly great drumming ability is way underutilized on this record. But the reason for that is obvious, because they're going for a more streamlined type of sound. Vocals, I think vocally, this is the best Dave Mustaine has sounded on any of the records. I think his vocals are dare I say, they're creeping. They're not good. They're creeping into good for me. In terms of just like his singing ability, I think he really has, and I think the overall song structure kind of helps that to a degree. Overall, I this is my second favorite Megadeth record, and it's gonna get a 26 for me.
Wow, there you go. Yeah, I agree. This is also my second favorite Megadeth record. So, this is the other album that I actually owned of the first five, and this is one I've listened to the most. I've listened to this album, I don't know, a bunch of times in my lifetime. And particularly, I found a favorite song on this album in the title track, Countdown to Extinction, which is really where I was kind of telling Dave, was like, this is really the song you want to listen to if you want to at least enjoy Dave Mustaine's vocals, because I think it's his best vocal performance for sure. And I'll echo what you said about vocals on the album. I wrote finally songs and productions that are directed at improving the vocals.
Yeah.
I think you can tell they really spent time on it. Production, by far the best yet. Sounds great. Instrumentation, I have on here that I had great guitar work, solid riffs. I enjoyed the solos on this. Again, this is more in my preference as far as like heavy metal or hard rock or whatever you call it. Like, this is more where I want to live, like in this kind of tempo and this range. So I was definitely more drawn to this record than maybe some of the early ones for sure. I have some highlights on here that are more riff driven songs. I will say that there's a big disparity on this album after the first 7 songs. Once you get past Countdown to Extinction, this album nosedives into some shit.
Yep.
Psychotron?
Psychotron garbage. Good. And what sucks too is Psychotron actually has some like decent like riff going. And then you get into the vocals, and the vocals suck. Like, I feel like the last 4 were like Dave Mustaine came in, he's like, hey, I got these songs held over from some previous records. I want these on here. And the producer's like, okay, cool.
He's like, hello, me. It's me again. I got some songs for you.
And then the producers are, okay, but can we write like maybe 7 other songs that don't suck? Okay, great.
No, look, I think the problem is High Speed Dirt is high speed garbage. And that's really the main problem there. But I'll let you continue. Go ahead.
So if I was going to rate the first 7 songs on this, I would say I would be somewhere probably about a 20. But because the last 4 songs are absolutely unlistenable, I'm going to be at a 38 on this one.
So that brings us to a 43 even. That is not necessarily a great recommendation, but look, I think that kind of is indicative of this album, and I think it's probably indicative of where a lot of fans were with Megadeth at this time, because you had a lot of diehard fans who were, again, similar to Metallica. After Metallica put out the Black Album, they thought it was good, but it's like, where's my old band? And I'm sure Megadeth had their fans that were similar to that, like, hey, this is fine, but where's Rust in Peace at? Like this is a nice detour, but we need to get back to the show, after this. So
yeah.
Overall, I like this record. I think it's real. I think my low light is High Speed Dirt. I think that song's terrible. I think it's the only absolute just fucking omission that they should have, like Lars Ulrich's dad, he would say, I would just delete that. So my highlights are Architecture of Aggression. I fucking love that song. Countdown to Extinction. Skin on My Teeth. I also love that song. Symphony of Destruction. I just could not put it as a highlight because it's the only one that I've heard like ad nauseum. It's a fine song, but I I can't unlisten to the 100 times I've heard it. So it can't be a highlight for me.
So low light for me is going to be, I mean, I'm just going to say Sweating Bullets. That's just, I mean, I feel like that completely it ruins the record for me, as childish as that is. But check it out. This is my least favorite record of these five, right? But I would say this album has the best song on all five of the records, and that song is Countdown to Extinction.
Wow.
That song is the shit. That song is fucking amazing, and I feel like it doesn't even belong on this album. It's not your it isn't 100 miles per hour, but it's melodic. It's heavy. The vocals kick ass, and there's some. Marty Friedman actually comes out with some feeling, at least to me, in his guitar playing, and I think it's a great song. But yeah, anyway,
that
again,
chorus is good. It's good as fuck.
Sweating Bullets. That's I believe Jason when he says he threw Saint Anger out the window because I wanted to do that, but I wasn't about to throw my phone out the window. So yeah,
yeah.
All right,
yeah. For me, low lights, High Speed Dirt, Psychotron. Psychotron, good riff. I thought the vocals ruined it, and I also have that the lyrics are dumb as fuck. It's not like I'm not a big lyric guy, right? Like one of the best Ozzy songs of all time is Perry Mason, and it's literally a song about the detective from TV, Perry Mason. Okay, the lyrics are shitty as fuck, but man, the music in that song is tasty, right? So if the music in the song was better, I could stand it, but it just wasn't good enough to carry the dumbness of those fucking lyrics. Good songs, Skin on My Teeth, great riff. I haven't heard the vocals aren't traditionally good, but they work. Like I feel like the song itself is really fun, and I feel like the vocals are kind of fun to go along with it. Countdown to Extinction, Mustaine's best vocal performance, and Architecture of Aggression. I feel like it kind of has like a Pantera swing to it a little bit.
Did you literally just pick the same three highlights as me?
That's what I had written down, Dave.
All right. Hey, well, look.
I think we had the same three on the first album, so
all right, that works. But yeah, do you guys got any? So I mean, that's all 5 albums reviewed. Do you have any overall thoughts, and maybe do you have any expectations for the next set of 5 albums?
I'll say.
Go ahead, Adrian.
I'm a little worried, just based on the direction Countdown to Extinction went. I'm a little worried. Of course, I'm going to go into it with an open mind, and sometimes going into it a little worried ends up having you pleasantly surprised, right? But we're creeping into the '90s where grunge came in and killed metal, and these guys, metal is not able to keep up. If Megadeth is still trying to echo what Metallica is doing, I'm even more scared. But I literally have no idea.
I don't think we get a Megadeth. I don't think we get a country song from Megadeth on any albums. But
so, Adrian, I'll ask you this real quick, and Josh, I'll ask you the same question. But Adrian, so now having heard the first 5, what I guess a lot of people consider to be the best chunk or one of the better chunks of Megadeth records, are you regretful that you didn't give this band a shot? I know you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but how regretful are you that you didn't give them a shot earlier in your life?
It feels very childish, and like I said, when I heard "Killing Is My Business," that opening riff. The Last Ride starts with the piano, but the opening riff into it, it's just holy shit. That makes me want to get my guitar out and start writing music again. Yeah, so anytime music inspires you to play music and create music yourself, it's fucking good. So yeah, that's I would say I'm very regretful, and I feel like a jackass, and because I was a jackass, right? Just fuck Megadeth because I'm a Metallica fan. Nah, it should never work that way, and it did for me, unfortunately, for the 20 years I've been a Metallica fan. So go figure.
Yeah, same for sure. I think I went into this with the expectation of I wouldn't say I went into it kicking and screaming, but I wasn't super thrilled about doing this, and I've been pleasantly surprised. I mean, look, especially on Rust in Peace. I mean, for me to say that's a 10, I haven't gone through and rated any of the Metallica albums yet or like that, so I don't know where that's going to rate against other Metallica albums, but I've come to terms with the fact that it's going to beat some of Metallica's albums for me. And if you'd asked me before we ever started this, I would have said there's fucking way that was even possible. So I've been pretty happy actually that we came down this path. I'm looking forward to the next 5 because I want to listen to some more music. And I think, in looking ahead, I think the next 5 albums are probably the 5 lowest, or they include the 5 lowest, some of the lowest rated albums in their catalog, Dave, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I like from looking at different fan sites where they kind of do fan, in user voting basically. The next set of 5 albums, I don't have them pulled up here, but are among the least, I would say, appreciated overall.
Euthanasia.
So Euthanasia, Cryptic
Just
Writings.
so you guys know, there's more than one version on Spotify.
Yeah.
So make sure you check out that remaster version.
Yeah. So I believe it's Euthanasia, Cryptic Writings. I believe it's
Hidden Treasures,
Risk.
Hidden Treasures, Risk, and The System Has Failed. Right?
The World Needs a Hero.
Oh, The World Needs a Hero. Okay.
Oh, dude. Oh, you know what, guys? Oh, man, hold up. There is one Megadeth song I loved in my youth. Josh, you're going to want to murder me because
Is it Crush 'Em?
I don't even want to hear the original version.
To Le Monde.
Paranoid.
Oh.
Their cover of Paranoid is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I say this as Paranoid being my favorite Black Sabbath album and probably my definitely top 10 metal albums of all time.
Well, we'll have to discuss that. That might come up.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Hey, Dave, before we go, what's the rankings of these 5 albums with the aggregate scores?
I had a fear that you were going to ask me that, but I did not. I did not have those written down, unfortunately.
I have mine. Let's go ahead and do it right quick.
Okay, that's fine. That's
Killing is my business.
One
I got 20.
You got
All
20, 25, you said?
20.
20. Okay. I get 38. What was yours, Josh?
Hold on, I'm going back up. 46.
Okay.
Ouch.
Okay, I'll write this down.
That's some quality hosting there, Dave.
Look, I wasn't initially. I should have been ready for this, but I apologize. 30. So next record, 32. What you got?
30.
70.
All right. All right. 44. Here we go. All right. What's next? Go
So far,
far.
good.
No, yeah. So what you got?
15.
Jesus. Okay, Josh.
55.
A lot of these scores are so close because we were just so opposite on these things. Okay. I kind of remember the score for Rust in Peace, but just give it to me again.
40.
Josh was 10. Yours was 40. Okay. All right. Yep. I had that memorized actually. And countdown.
65.
38.
All right.
I will say the title track prevents that from being a straight up 100.
All right. So here it is in the new order from worst to first here. So it's close. It's really close. But the worst record by Megadeth for us is Peace Sells What Who's Buying with a 40.
Damn.
With a 44.
Yeah.
Then it's Countdown to Extinction with a 43.66.
Wow.
Those are 2 widely popular records. And then we got So Far So Good So What with a 35.66. And then we have Killing Is My Business with a 34.66. And then we have Rust in Peace with a 19.33.
Whoa.
I can live with that.
That is a us rating Peace Sells as our aggregate least favorite Megadeth record of the first 5 is probably instantly invalidating for most Megadeth fans.
Y'all can blame me. Y'all can blame me for that.
Metal Hammer or Metal Storm, I forget, they have Rust in Peace. Their top 200 greatest albums of all time, Rust in Peace is number 1. And I guess that's kind of where we're at on that too, huh?
Yeah, so we're on that vein, but it's just really interesting. We'll see where the rest of these Megadeth albums kind of end up here, and I'm really looking forward to reviewing them over the. I'm glad to be able to listen to some new Megadeth records for the next 5 weeks.
I know nothing of next album.
Oh yeah, from this point forward, it's completely blind.
Mm-hmm. I think the only song I know coming up is the To Le Monde.
Yeah,
that's on. I think the next album.
Yeah, it is. But guys, I think we've successfully completed a podcast. I want to thank our special guest Adrian Gomez for jumping on this journey with us. We appreciate it. And
we'll see you guys again in 5 weeks for the next part of the journey.
And until next time, take it easy, everybody.
Live long and prosper.